Hello everybody, welcome to The Pen Habit. My name is Matt Armstrong. Glad to have you back for another pen review video. Now in today's pen review, we're going to be taking a look at another ebonite pen. I told you I've had a string of them lately. There's just something about ebonite. This is a pen that comes from a California-based retailer named Peyton Street Pens, which is run by Terry Morris, and Terry was kind enough to send this pen to me for review purposes. Now this is a pen manufactured by the Indian pen maker Ranga. I've done some reviews on Ranga pens before. I had a Ranga dip pen that I bought from them. Also a Ranga Model 2, I think it's either a Model 2 or Model 3, I don't remember off the top of my head. I'll put a link right there. Another Ranga that I bought from Peyton Street Pens. This is a model that Peyton Street worked directly with Ranga to manufacture, and it's exclusive to them. So this is a model that they sent me to review. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. This is kind of a unique design. I've never seen a pen with quite the same design, but I kind of like it. So to start off, as I mentioned, it's an ebonite pen. This is their blue and yellow ebonite, and it's really kind of a yellow-green with a teal. And the colors are a little bit more muted than I was expecting. It's still, I love the ripple finish, and I love how the cap lines up with the barrel pretty nicely, especially right around the clip here. The colors weren't quite what I was expecting, though. I like them. This is great if you're a University of Michigan fan, you know, go Wolverines. But aside from that, this probably wouldn't be the color I would normally pick, I don't think, now that I've seen it in person. Still really nice quality ebonite, though. You don't see any of the air bubbles or the inclusions or stuff. There's a little tiny tool mark there, but for the most part, you don't see any of the inclusions that you might see on some of the less quality ebonites. It's also superbly polished, so they did a very nice job on the finish. So to start off with the design, they did a finial here in the ebonite. You've got a folded metal clip. It's very stiff, nice and sturdy, and it will come, you can get it in either gold or silver clips. Just when you place the order, you can pick what you want. You've got the barrel here, and then a little design line in the cap, probably done with a parting tool on the lathe. The barrel tapers slightly to another, you've got another little mark right there, and then kind of a flattened rounded top like you have on the top. It's not like a full rounded top, it's kind of flattened out a little bit, but still quite pleasant in the hand. It is a pretty decent sized pen. The cap comes off with 1, 2 1/4, 2.5 turns, which is good. Nice long section, tapers down, flares out just a little bit here. You can get it uses standard JoWo nibs, so you can get it steel nibs, either steel colored or bicolored, in extra fine, fine, medium, broad, 1.1 millimeter or 1.5 millimeter stubs. So quite a few nib options there for you. But like I said, it is a pretty standard JoWo steel nib unit, so you'll know what you're getting if you've gotten one of these before. The pen can be used as an eyedropper. You've got the ebonite tenon here with lots of threads that are nice and tight and very smooth. So in fact, when the pen arrived to me, it arrived with a small bit of silicone grease, so if you wanted to eyedropper it right out of the box, you very easily could. And of course, if you decide that you don't want to eyedropper the pen, you can always use either the included converter, which is a standard international converter, or you can use long or short cartridges. So there we go with that. So that's basically the design of the pen. It's, like I said, it's very nicely made. The threads are super smooth. And there's a video that's been floating around, I'll see if I can find a link to it, of how he makes these pens. He actually hand cuts the threads, and to cut them as smoothly and as well as this is really pretty impressive, actually, I think. So yeah, really nicely made. Very comfortable in the hand. I love the section. I love long sections. Yay, yay, yay for more manufacturers who are doing long sections. The pen can post. It does not post deeply, and it's very long when it's posted. But aside from that, in the hand, it's really comfortable, and the quality of craftsmanship is quite high. I've said several times before that I think Ranga is probably one of the highest, has some of the highest quality construction of any pens made in India. At least the handmade pens that I've seen come from India. I've been very impressed with the quality of their work. This is the third pen of theirs that I've tried, and so far every single one of them has been very high quality. Even the finial, in the past I've complained about the finial not quite lining up with the barrel of the pen, and in this particular case, the pattern doesn't match up exactly, which is fine, but it's very smooth. You don't have a huge step down between the barrel and the finial. They're actually quite smooth for the most part. Okay, so let's look at some comparisons. So here is the Peyton Street Pens Ranga Zayante. I don't even think I said the name of this pen. Gee, I don't know where I've been. Z-A-Y-A-N-T-E, Zayante. That's how I'm going to pronounce it. That's the Peyton Street Pens Zayante, and here's some other comparisons. Here is the Mont Blanc 149, so about the same size, you can see. You've got the Pelikan M1000, and I actually think the M1000 is probably a closer comparison in general because it does have that same kind of flattened look to the pen a little bit. The Pelikan M800, and then if you wanted to look at some perhaps less expensive pens to compare it to, we have the Lamy All-Star, the TWSBI Eco, and the Pilot Metropolitan. And measurement-wise, we're looking at a pretty long 143 millimeters. We've got 128.6 millimeters uncapped, so very comfortable in my hand. Does not need to be posted, which is a good thing, I think. And then, as I mentioned, very long when posted at 179.2 millimeters. The middle of the section is 11.1 millimeters, which is just about perfect, I think. 14.4 millimeters at the widest point of the barrel, and 15.9 millimeters at the widest point of the cap. And being a fully ebonite pen, it is pretty light, only 13 grams unposted or uncapped, and 23 grams posted or capped. So if you want a big pen but still have it lightweight, this is a very good option. So let's go ahead and do a little bit of writing. I'm going to show you how it writes, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the pen and the value. So here we go. This is the Peyton Street Pens Ranga Zayante. And we are using a medium Jowo steel nib. The ink is a Sailor ink made for the Kingdom Note stationery store. And I'll give you the English name rather than the Latin name. It's a fiddler crab. Here's your quote. Okay. So, an absolutely lovely writer. I didn't expect a whole lot different because this is a Jowo nib unit. I was expecting to have a pretty good writing experience, and it is. It's got, this seems to be probably a little bit closer to what you get straight out of the box from a Yovo nib unit. It's got some feedback, but not a huge amount. I'd probably put it at about a 3.5 or a 4 on my feedback scale. And for those of you who aren't familiar, 1 would be writing on hot glass with butter, and 10 would be writing on very coarse grit sandpaper with a roofing nail. This is probably a 3.5 or a 4, so it's still very good. In terms of ink flow, it's a nice moderate ink flow. This is a good, I'm going to sit down and write for a long time pen. Not just in terms of ink flow, which keeps up admirably with any long-term writing, but also I find this pen ridiculously comfortable in the hand. So I want to show you this because this is something I've been playing around with lately. I tend to hold my pen directly over the knuckle of my hand. So I know some people hold a pen more like this. I mean, people hold pens all kinds of ways, but I generally try to hold my pen like this. The result is that the pen is kind of 45 degrees to the paper, as opposed to holding it like this, where it's more like this to the paper. I tend to like it like this. It takes a lot of the weight off of my fingers and just lets it rest right there. When held like this, I find this pen to be ludicrously comfortable. It just kind of, it balances very nicely in the hand, and the grip is wide enough for me that I don't feel like I need to grip the pen to keep it in place. It just sits there really, really nicely in the hand. And I can kind of, go back to using the whole arm instead of the fingers to get a better thing. I get neater writing. I mean, this isn't the neatest writing. It's hard to write while I'm not looking at what I'm doing. I'm actually looking at a monitor right here when I write instead of down at my paper. It's not the neatest writing, but it is neater than a lot of some of my other writing. And I find this pen really does help to improve the handwriting for me a little bit, because it's just such a nice fit. In terms of flexibility, there's really none to speak of. That's not what these nibs are for. I know I say that often, but people want to know. And reverse writing, it is actually quite nice, actually. Surprisingly good. Really nice reverse writer there, very fine line. So yeah, it's really a surprisingly good writer. Maybe surprisingly is not the right term, because Yovo nib units are they're well known and pretty high quality in general, I'd say. Now, in terms of value, I find this pen to be kind of the best of both worlds. It is an ebonite pen. It is handmade. So you're not going to get necessarily the exact same, CNC lathe, perfectly finished, high volume industrial feel that you might get from other pens. This is a handmade product. Now, normally handmade products are very expensive, especially when they are handmade, but handmade to this level of quality. Fortunately, this is a really affordable pen. So if you get one of their regular ebonite colors, it's only $72 here in the US, which is honestly a great price for a pen that writes this well. With a Yovo nib unit and a converter included, really, really a nice pen. If you want some of what they call their premium ebonites, that is a little bit more expensive, and that's $87, which is still a very good price. That puts it into, the competition range of, some of the upper end TWSBIs like the TWSBI VAC 700. There aren't a lot of pens in the $70 to $80 range. There's some Monteverdes in that range, like the Prima, that sort of thing. I find this to be one of the nicer pens in that $70 to $100 range. Very nicely made, great craftsmanship, good materials, beautiful finish, writes well. A good value in general. Now, this blue and yellow ripple is a regular ebonite. It's not one of the premiums, right off the top of my head, but they've got lots of colors, probably a dozen or more colors available. So if you want to take a look at the Zayante, go to Peyton Street Pens. I'll have a link right here. I'll have a link right here as well as in the notes down below and over in the full blog review on penhabit.com. And see what colors they have available. Because it is a handmade product from a very small company, you know, what's available may change over time, but overall, I have to say I am pretty darn impressed with this pen. I like the design a lot. It's so comfortable in the hand and it writes very well. So you really can't ask for a whole lot more. You know, they not only in that meme, you had one job. Not only does this pen do that one job, but it hits a lot of the other buttons too. So that is my review of the Peyton Street Pens / Ranga Zayante. As I mentioned before, this pen was provided free of charge by Peyton Street Pens for review purposes. No additional compensation was provided, and all opinions expressed herein are my own, but I do want to be upfront about that. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below on YouTube or over on penhabit.com, and I look forward to seeing you here next time on The Pen Habit. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.